Trail runners, welcome back to Chasing Gold Bandera edition. Giddy up, we're heading to Texas, talking with some of those front runners trying to get themselves one of the 2 golden tickets to the Western States Endurance Run. Today on the show, we got the man himself, Mr. Jeffrey Colt. Jeff is coming off a team's gold medal win at the World Mountain Running Championships. He had 11th place at Western States this year. He was a golden ticket winner at Black Canyon 100K. He's won Tough 100, the Jimez 50 miler, the Grand Traverse 40 miler. He's got experience on the Bandera course, and he is just one heck of a guy. Everybody, welcome to the show, Jeff Colt. Jeff, this is a pleasure to have you on here. First, let me tell the fans and listeners of this show, Jeff and I have a very similar racing strategy where we always be closing. We be closing, so look out for him at Bandera. Jeff and I ran a lot together at Black Canyon, or close at Black Canyon. We shared some miles at Western States. This guy's fast, and I hope he gets a ticket. Jeff, talk to me about your golden ticket journey. I know you've been to Bandera a few times. You've been to Black Canyon. Talk me through it. Talk me through the whole thing.
Yeah, Bandera was my first attempt back in I guess that was 2018. I chose Bandera that year because the previous year I looked through the results and it seemed like it was not that competitive. Little did I know, in 2017 the top 5 guys in the race all got disqualified for going off course. So I went down to Bandera in 2018. It was my first time at the 100-kilometer distance. I tried to go out with Cody Reed and Mario Mendoza, ran hard for the first 50 miles. I didn't ingest any food or nutrition, really. I bonked so hard. It's hard to explain. Felt like hitting a glass door, and I had no idea where I was. Ended up getting some food, getting to the finish in 5th place. I went back in 2019. They unfortunately moved the course that year due to some flooding in Hill Country State Park. So my advantage of going back to a course I'd already known was a little bit stripped away. I had, up to that point, the best race of my career. Turns out that day Tyler Green and Chris Mocco had a better day, and I was 3rd place, a couple minutes out of a ticket. COVID happened in 2020. I didn't get to go to Canyons as intended. 2021, I took a little space from chasing the golden ticket, and last year I kind of made a last minute decision. I reached out to Jubilee and I was like, I really want to go for it at Black Canyon. Are there any chances I can get in? And with a month of training, I just had a good head on my shoulders and executed a great race. And that day, 3rd place was good enough for me to actually get a golden ticket and join you and Trueheart. So I'm excited to go back to Bandera. Now I do have a little bit of an advantage having run the course before and knowing it quite well. And at this point, 6 years into running ultras, I've got maybe 12 or so 100Ks under my belt and a couple 100-milers, couple in the 115K range. So I feel confident in the distance, and kind of the experience that I've had has definitely shaped some of my race strategy and plans.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I mean, like I mentioned, we have a similar race strategy, right? We generally tend to run faster than the field in the second half, making up time. And I can think through my own journey on this. Luckily, I found this out super early on, and it's obviously a game changer to my racing. You found it out. It takes, I don't know the word, it just takes a lot of, patience isn't right, but to just let everyone go out in front of you and just know, it doesn't matter. I am going to run my best race. How did that racing strategy fall upon you? How did you learn that, and how much has it helped your racing?
It's helped a ton. I'll kind of flip your questions and answer the second part first. I still have a pretty strong ego. I want to go out there and win. I definitely want to first and foremost have a good time and feel mentally and physically well at the end of a race. but I'm very competitive, and to kind of be at the start of a race and let people go, it does feel wrong. I learned it in 2018 at Run Rabbit. It's the only race I've ever like gone into it and been like, I'm going to plan my race strategy off of one runner. And that one runner was Jeff Browning, just because I've seen him do, amazing things by being patient early. And like 16 miles into Run Rabbit that year, he sat down on the side of the course, and I like was behind him and was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "I'm overheating, man. I don't feel good. I need to take a break." And I was like, "Oh." Do I sit down next to him? And I kind of was like scratching my head, like this was really my plan, to stay with him because he's so good at closing. And I left him. I kept running. Mile 70, I'm like, or maybe it was mile 60, I'm like kind of in the pain cave on this long grinding uphill. And what do I hear but like, yippee-ki-yay! He just comes blowing by me, running like 7-minute pace uphill. He goes on to finish third. I think I was seventh at that race. And afterwards, like we had been rooming together through the race. So afterwards, I was like, "What happened there?" He was like, "Man, my body was telling me to slow down. I had to listen to my body, and everything felt great later on." And I kind of took that as like, all right, you might feel really good early. You need to feel good kind of midway. You're eventually going to feel bad, but you need to feel good at kind of whatever that threshold point you have is. And for like the 100 mile, that's typically 100K for me. At 100K, I need to feel good. And that's when I want to like really start closing people in. And 100K, it's typically like 36 miles. For Black Canyon, that was easy with the Black Canyon City Aid Station. And it's just like, I need to come in there feeling as fresh as possible. And I think the only difference in our strategies is you figure out how to go one place ahead of me. So I should maybe be asking you what your strategy is, because it seems to be working just like a little bit better for you.
Oh, that's funny. So I was second at Black Canyon this year, and Jeff was third, and I was 10th at States, and Jeff is 11th. Pure luck. I could easily we could have these seats reversed. I could be running Bandera. You could be already into Western States, just how the coins fell that day. Great story on how you got into it. And yeah, I don't know how I got into it. I just knew that you got to run fast at the end to win or do well in these, period. You could not have a good 70 mile. If you're running fast and close hard in the last 30 miles of 100 miles or 30 miles of 100K, you're going to be happy with your result. And I knew that, and it's great to hear that you know it. I wish I try to put many athletes that I coach through this little experiment where I say, don't care about this race. Just close, run a negative split, and after this you'll have an aha moment, and you'll be a much better ultra runner for the rest of your life. And some of them agree, some of them listen, some of them don't. Great story.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. Another thing in common Jeff and I have, and I'm going to touch on this, is we are both from the Northeast. Jeff was in New Hampshire working in the hut systems. I grew up trail running in New Hampshire through those hut systems, and many people have no idea how burly and how rugged that terrain is. I'm going to ask for the East Coast fans. Jeff, give me one of your favorite White Mountain routes.
Ooh, for the true New Englanders or New Hampshireites, my favorite is probably the Baldface Loop. So it's actually over in Evans Notch. You got to be like right across the border of New Hampshire in Maine. And on the Baldfaces, it's like a 9 to 12 mile loop somewhere in there. A ton of exposed granite and just phenomenal views of the presidential range the entire time. Equipped with 2 great swimming holes, dirt roads for cooling down or doing strides. It's premium. I dream about it all the time out here in Colorado.
Nice. Love it. Love it. All right. Let's go back into race strategy. Let's talk about fueling and hydration. Another thing that you've probably learned, and I just recently spoke to someone about this, is it doesn't matter if you are under aerobic threshold, because if you can't keep up with fluids and hydration, none of it matters, because you're gonna bonk, or it's gonna go downhill. So obviously the athlete needs to keep things conservative, but they also need to be focused on getting in enough fluids and fuel so in those last 30 miles they can push hard, because then we know they're going to be creating a big deficit. How are you approaching fueling and hydration on race day?
So for the most part, I do a mix of just water and then like electrolyte mix with calories. Been using NAC bars, makes a really good hydration mix. And then I really like potato chips and like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So I typically do take food from aid stations. I might supplement that with some caffeinated gels, but my main thing is like, you can't get behind on hydration. If you get behind on hydration, there's really no like immediate comeback from that. You can sit in a chair for an hour or a couple hours and eventually be in a better place. But if you get behind on nutrition, you feel it. Like, you're going to feel faint. You're going to feel maybe a little dizzy or not quite as strong. And like, eating has almost like an immediate effect. So really knowing what your body is saying. I typically don't have like a caloric intake per hour. I'd say it's somewhere in that 350 to 400 range, because I'm eating solid foods at aid stations. But yeah, potato chips, peanut butter and jelly. I am not shy about caffeine. I use a lot of caffeine in races, and that's from a tip from some cycling buddies who were basically like, hey, like, below performance enhancing drugs, caffeine is the best supplement that you can take to kind of keep your body going. Might not be true for something like Cocodona, but for 100K, absolutely. So yeah, that's part of the going out conservatively, I think, and going out and letting the field go a little bit is just like not being caught up in racing someone early on, because it allows me to have that headspace and just kind of clarity to know where are my ins and outs. Like, if I have to stop to pee, ideally I do. Like, and I do stop and I let people go, because that way I can at least make sure like my systems are all working properly. So when it's go time, I can put on the throttle and hit the afterburners and really start reeling people in.
Absolutely. Love it. Yeah, and that's exactly my approach too. It's just get that stuff in. You got to close. So important. And if we think of Bandera, like I said, you have been there before, getting third place. How does that running style, right? Because it's relentless up and down, short climbs, like 200, 300 feet, up, down, up, down, up, down. There's a little bit of flat section, so it really takes an intuitive runner to run well there. I know you're in Carbondale. There's big climbs in Carbondale. How do you feel this running course sets up to your running style? Do you think this is a course that favors you?
I do. I think the punchy climbs, like that relentless feeling, I think it has an effect of just wearing people down. And it's more so like, you know, I remember my first time racing Bandera, looking at my watch like 30 something miles in and being like, oh my God, I'm like running 640s right now. Like, I didn't know I could run this, you know, fast for like a 50K, and, you know, I've got another 50K to do. And maybe that was a sign. But it is a race where, like, when you're moving on the flats later in the race, you need to be able to continue hitting those faster splits. So if the downhills take any wear or tear on your legs and you start kind of falling off more of that, like, you know, cruise control 720 pace, that's where I think you run into some issues. And again, that's fully compounded by hydration and nutrition, whether you're on it or you make mistakes. I'd say most folks at this race, it's a 2-loop race. Most folks do the first loop too fast. I think my first loop was like 352, and I really bonked. It was like a 445 or something second loop. But if you look at the results, the only person I think who should be running under a 4-hour first split was Jim Walmsley, who has the course record with like 747. So he was actually down there my first year running it. And I remember him like challenging Cody Reed to like, dude, run a negative split, run a 4:02 and then run a sub 4 and like do it. Cause that'll be the second fastest time in the course. Like people have a hard time breaking 8 cause they get pulled out in around 3:50.
Yeah, it is. Again, I don't quite get it. I agree with you here. And I had another athlete on the show. We were talking a bit, and he had a negative split there. A positive split there last year, and thinks that perhaps he should go out a little bit more aggressive. It seems like a dangerous scenario, right? So it's like, especially on these 2 loopers, it's like you can learn so much because you just look at the data after. You can say, okay, I ran a negative split, I didn't. But if you didn't, I would think the logic brain would say, okay, I'm going to do exactly what I did the year before, but just go slower at the first loop and then close faster. But for some reason, athletes don't like to do this. They're going to see Jeff Colt moving up through that field in the second loop.
Hopefully. I think the only race I haven't really done this strategy at was the World Championships race in Chiang Mai, because I knew that field was so deep, and contact is just so important when there is a deep field, because if you're on, 9th place's shoulder and 9th place is running a full minute per mile faster than 12th place's shoulder, like all of a sudden that gap just gets so unwieldy that you can't actually close it. So at World Champs, I went out aggressively and was, in the position I wanted to be kind of the full race. I think with Bandera, and this isn't to offend the field at all, it's not quite as deep of a race. I think everyone's going to find themselves running solo at some point, and I'd much rather be the guy chasing than the guy being chased if I'm running solo. And a lot of that just comes down to like, if you have a more conservative first loop, you know what's in your tank for the second loop, as opposed to flirting with that edge of kind of burning too much fuel early on.
Yeah, let's talk about that briefly. About Chiang Mai, you went out for the World Mountain Running Championships on the team with Adam Peterman and our good buddy, Mr. Eric La Puma. How was that experience as an athlete? Did you learn anything race-wise from those two? Those two are obviously 2 of the best in the sport, not just in the USA, but in the world. Anything that you learned from that week or weekend with such great athletes around you?
That experience is all time. World Championships is an unreal experience. I can't sing its praises enough. Such a cool event, and like it's real deal. Adam Peterman is a really, really calculated, really hard working runner who also has a ton of raw talent. And I know for a fact he actually was like 30 minutes ahead of me perfectly, this loop right, coming into the finish ahead of me. And I passed him going up as he was getting ready to kind of start the big descent down toward the finish. And I could like literally see in his face how hard he was working and how hard he was pushing, having no idea how far back second place was. And like seeing that look on his face, I was like, I need to keep digging as hard as I can and as deep as I can, because I was having crazy muscle cramps and was not in a good way. But like seeing that look on his face, even though he was probably 15 minutes off the front and still working so hard, it was that feeling of kind of racing a cross country race again, where you have teammates and it's not just you. There's a greater goal. Eric and I got to race a bunch together that day, which was really special. And in that situation, I think I would have preferred to try to stay with Eric the whole day, but I was working through some cramps. He executed a near perfect race, and I think both of us, as well as Adam Mary, like we all had something to prove. We all wanted to, show up and try to fight for a podium spot for Team USA. And for us to come out with the gold was surprising for us, as well as like really, really exciting. And I think the race I'm probably the most proud of, even though physically it didn't feel like my best race.
Awesome. Great story. Congrats on the gold. We are going to dive into the fast-paced fartlek round on that. Before we do, I wanted to give a big shout out to Jeff's sponsors. Forgot to put that in the intro with On Running, Ultimate Direction, and Knack Bars supporting Jeff on these wild adventures. Jeff, are you ready for the fast-paced fartlek round?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. What sneakers will you be wearing at the Bandera 100K?
It's a version of the Cloud Vista from On, the Cloud Vista Speed.
Nice. Favorite local trail and why?
Red Hill, our local haunt here in Carbondale. It's like the lunchtime run. It's half a mile from town, so there's maybe a 25-mile trail system there, and it's way harder than you probably want for an everyday like lunchtime run. It's hard to go much faster than 9-minute miles up there, and it makes a tough runner.
Yes, it does. I'm familiar with Red Hill. How about race superstitions? You got any?
Ooh, not particularly. I have like a routine for sure in terms of eating and whatnot, but yeah, not any great superstitions. I definitely am thinking actively about like all of the important people in my life and the people I love and care about while I'm running, because I firmly believe that if you think about them and they're thinking of you, it opens this energy transfer and can make the whole race feel easier. But I don't think I have superstitions.
With you 100% on that one, Jeff. I do the same thing when I'm racing. Always positive imagery, thinking of the people that support me. It goes so far. I feel like we're giving out our big tips right here on this show. Next thing you know, the 2023 class of ultra runners are going to be storming behind us. We're gonna have to charge for this. Do we have a Patreon page we can put this on? All right. Texas has a saying: "Don't mess with Texas." Jeff, I want you to finish the sentence. Don't mess with
Texas. I believe that. I'm not going to mess with Texas. I'm going to go down. I'm going to be incredibly respectful. I'm going to run my ass off and hopefully leave with a golden ticket. But I
not messing with Texas.
Stay with that one.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about that pre-race breakfast. That's number 6. You doing the same thing every race? What is your pre-race go-to?
Pretty simple. Some type of bread, like bagel with peanut butter and banana and a little bit of honey, and then like a fruit shake of some sort, like smoothie. Try to get a little bit of bread in my stomach, a little bit of protein, and then just some different types of vitamins and fuel. But I don't try to overeat early. I try to feel relatively good, not necessarily full before the race, and then kick in nutrition during the race about 30 minutes, 45 minutes in. Same.
All right, this
and
one
coffee.
You need black coffee, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, this one I know Jeff is going to excel at, because I've been fortunate enough to be behind him on the trail and seeing him literally dance down the trail. So for this question, Jeff, we are letting you select the song that kicks off the Bandera 100K. What is your walkout song?
Oh, so my walkout song's probably from Hamilton the musical, and it's My Shot.
Nice.
And it's like, I'm not gonna miss my shot. I'm not gonna miss my shot. And it always pumps me up. I think about it when I'm out there. I probably was listening to that for a little bit during Western States.
Nice.
But yeah, I definitely think of long distance running races as just dancing across the landscape, and I try to mix up my footsteps with a little bit of dance step in there, so I'm not getting the same repetitive foot pattern every time and fatiguing the same muscles. So yeah, dancing, big part of my running secret too. I think there's only one more secret, and I've divulged everything.
I know. I'm the same. I feel we're giving it away here. I mean, fans, we can't do any better for you here. All right, we're going back with another Texas question for you. They say everything is bigger in Texas. What we want to know is, when you get down to Texas, what one item in Texas do you hope really is bigger in Texas?
Yeah, I would say the golden ticket, but it's already really unwieldy to travel with, and like a funny scenario asking a flight attendant or security person to help with it. So I might switch my answer and say I hope the crowds and just energy and cheering at Bandera is bigger in Texas, because I definitely feed off that.
Same. All right, you might have already given this one away, or this could be your last secret, but I'm asking you, secret weapon on race day. What do you got? You got anything secret up your sleeve?
I think my real secret weapon is my dad. Race day Rick, as he goes by. A huge NASCAR guy growing up. We'd go down to like Loudon Speedway and see the NASCAR races, and he's like all in on this concept of pit crew. So he's been traveling with me the last couple years to races, and having him there, you can't replace it. It's really, really special, and definitely my secret weapon.
Race day Rick, we hope you are going to Texas, buddy. All right, last question, perhaps the most difficult one. Putting you on the spot. Jeff Colt, what place are you finishing the Bandera 100K in?
I want to run like pretty much eight hours flat and try to win Bandera. I've got a 5th place finish and a 3rd place finish. I'd like to keep that numerical pattern and get that number 1 spot. I want to try to run as even splits as possible or negative split at Bandera. And if I do that, I'm pretty confident I can come away with it.
Heck yeah. Jeff Colt, we will see you in Texas. Good luck out there.
Thanks, Scott. Great to see you.